Hello, creatives, community, and kind folks out there. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and welcome to the channel, RPG with DBJ. Today is World Building Wednesday, and for those who do not know, this show is simulcast on Twitch, YouTube, and the audio gets punched out to our Discord server. Just go to our Discord server and slide on down to the boiler room. You can take part in the chat there and listen to the audio in that manner if you wish. Now, this channel, each week we pick a theme and then we subdivide it each day. So today, this week's theme in this extra long form channel, unlike any other on the internet, with me as the host, we're dealing with science fantasy, and yes, combining the two, or rather, going back to a period of time when the two were never separated, and in our various intellectual properties, specifically here with tabletop role-playing games. And on World Building Wednesday, we like to take whatever theme we're talking about. We could be talking about traps or Medusas or, I don't know, major storms or anything like that. And we like to build a world around it. Now, on this particular case, I thought one of our moderators and absolutely positively loyalist and popular person on the channel, I'm going to use something from them given to me by their handle, and that's Tesla Ranger. And Tesla Ranger's been around since day one, and it brings to mind something that came about. So yes, I'm beating around the bush quite a bit. I thought we would design a world where science and fantasy kind of combine together in a very naturalistic kind of way. And we've talked about like Star Wars being a science fantasy realm. We talked about many others, but I thought we would design one kind of based around something that has to deal with a movie. And one of the individuals in the movie is Tesla. There's a movie called The Current War. And I heard the movie wasn't very good. I didn't watch it. Doesn't matter. The Current War is about the implementation and spread of electricity. Yes, actually, the invention of and the use of electricity in the United States, and it dealt with individuals known as with the last names of Edison, Westinghouse, and Tesla. And the reason why I bring this up is because they were competing over not power, not ultimate power and dominating the landscape, or summoning a demon from another portal, or what are some other really classic tropey big bad evil guy things? Mind controlling the population or something like that. No. But this was the advent of power nonetheless, and it is, I believe, a trope of people who crave power but is underutilized, and that is giving something to the masses, right? Hey, I want to be the one that develops electricity and gives it to the masses. And at its time, in the context of what we're talking about, electricity was magic at the time. What? You could actually turn on light and have light shine in my room when I want to without having to light a candle or something? That was magic. Electricity allowed communication to happen. It allowed us as a population to operate far more effectively during the nighttime hours. The creation of light psychologically eliminated fears we've all had, right? Hey, watching a horror movie in the dark is supposed to be a big thing, but how do we get rid of that fear? We turn the lights on, right? Or how many movies and television shows and such have we seen when the protagonists walk into a dark warehouse or a dark room or something, and you're screaming at the screen like, turn the lights on! What are you doing? Turn the lights on! Why are you walking around with a flashlight? Reach over, turn the lights on, right? Now, sometimes they will let you know, hey, they flick the light switch and the lights don't come on. And of course, there's things hiding in the dark. So And of course, with our protagonists, using them as examples with Edison, Westinghouse, and Tesla, these are brilliant and creative individuals that are in their own manner trying to bring to the masses something that will change their lives completely. So, what aspect do we want to bring into this world? Now, that we could be talking about, like, say, classic fantasy, maybe, or heck, we could even flow away from classic fantasy and go with some like urban fantasy, meaning the general definition of urban fantasy is like anything from, say, from Renaissance or Victorian era all the way up until the near future, urban landscape minus anything that's fantastical, and then we layer something fantastical on it. So imagine today, like with modern day police officers and detectives, but they're hunting, I don't know, dragons and spirits or something like that. So we could possibly even put this in an urban fantasy realm, much like Shadowrun and others. Invisible Sun actually fits into this as well. It's kind of 1920s ish and what have you. And I'm sure there's plenty of others out there. But even if you wanted to keep this fantasy, I'm imagining one or more perpetrators whose purpose is to bring to the population something that might be like dangerous or untested or something like that. Dead Man says, Six Gun Mage is a webcomic about magic combined with the old revolvers and flintlock pistols. Yeah, yeah. That's that in tabletop role playing games. That's always a common thing. Like, yeah, I want pistols to have like magic in them. Yeah. Dead Man says it starts off with a gunfight on a train, ending with the bullet coming out of the revolver being split into two bullets mid-flight. And God, I love that stuff. What is the movie? Wanted, curving bullets through the air and having fights on trains that are derailing and you know speeding through city streets with high-powered supercars or something, high performance cars, and flipping them on the sides of buses and all that kind of business. Yeah. Yep, Masters of the Universe, world's fantasy world. And I absolutely Techno Demon. I absolutely agree with you. We brought up the 80s and 90s cartoons, a ton of them. He-Man being one of the most popular in that genre, but yeah, like Black Star and Silverhawks and Thundar the Barbarian and Herculoids and things like that. Yeah, just where there is no significant split between the two. But um, one of the, I guess I'm pulling this out of my ass, but one of the rules I think when it comes to science fantasy is that there's something fantastical about the world that is not fully explained, and we love it. We think it's okay. Much like the Force is with Star Wars. We know it has some capabilities. We know it does a thing. We're used to it doing a couple of handfuls of things, but we don't really understand it, and that's okay. And I think science fantasy really embraces that aspect. Science fantasy actually would be, I think Planescape and Spelljammer are perfect examples of science fantasy, right? Yeah, Mechs versus Dragons. Yep, where sure, are you going through different dimensions? Sure. Are there airships that go through space? Sure. We're just going to accept that happens, and then we're going to move on from there, right? We're not really going to tell you what the science of it is, because there is no science. It just is. And much like going through the different planes of existence in Planescape, each plane having their own rules based on the plane's lowercase a alignment of sorts, whether it's like elemental or aligned with the nine radial elements of the alignment, or going well beyond that even. We just accepted that this is true. This is how the rules work in the nine hells. That's it. Yeah. Yeah, Tesla brings up Thundercats. Yeah, Tesla Ranger says Thundercats has space travel, futuristic vehicles, and the like, but also features a magic sword used by the hero and an undead sorceress overlord as the main villain. Hell yes. Why didn't we bring up Thundercats before this? But yeah, you're right. Hey, the hero's got a magic sword. Why? The answer is because magic, right? Yeah, Mumra. Okay, how many of us absolutely positively loved the anime intros maybe as much or better than the TV shows, right? Because the anime intros sometimes were like, of course, were animated by a different studio, and we're just like, those were sweet. Yep, Mighty Orbots. Yep. Dead Man says Silverhawks had a similar setting with many of the same voice actors. I don't know much about the background of those cartoons, but I wouldn't put it past them that not only were they many of the same voice actors, I would almost guarantee that they were all the same actors with the same producers. Because remember, those cartoons were primarily used as advertisement for like toys, plus they sold advertising space for things like cereals and toys and kids games and things like that, right? So while we enjoyed them as kids, let's be frank, they were advertisement they were advertisement engines as well. So I'm thinking, and this is a strange kind of big bad of sorts, but I'm thinking, what if, yeah, the voice actor for Panthro from Thundercats was the pilot for Silverhawks. I did not know that. Oh, I did not know that. But that's sweet though, right? You know, like, oh, so and so's got a connection to so and so. And yes, I bet the same pool, I'll say pool of voice actors and maybe even animators did a lot of those classic cartoons. So I'm thinking that one of the main thrusts of our one of the main thrusts of our project here was just that, oh, hey, Legally Blonde, um, that maybe there's some kind of like wish machine or wish fulfillment that our antagonists are trying to push throughout the world. No, no, good morning to you, good sir. So Lurker says, was just watching a video on YouTube about this morning. Silverhawks, Thundercats, and Tiger Sharks are the same exact team. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Small world, right? Save money, same creators. They throw a bunch of crap on the wall, see what sticks. If it doesn't, boom, move on. Yeah. Tesla Ranger says Avatar: The Last Airbender uses an interesting take on this trope. The first series was very much set in a fantasy world, with only one faction having any substantial industrial or steampunk elements. Yep, fire, I believe. However, by the time of Legend of Korra, 70 years after Last Airbender, technology has advanced considerably, with things like cars, airships, airplanes, and even humongous mecha becoming more and more commonplace with something like Diesel Punk, especially by the time of Book 4. Essentially, Avatar shows what happens when a fantasy setting breaks its medieval stasis. And I guess that is a separate, I'm thinking that's a separate function that a lot of times in our settings, especially for like tabletop games, there's no there's no temporal progression, right? Things don't get better or worse; they just are. For 7 millennia, this was a fantasy world, and some, if you look a little too deeply, you're like, wait a minute, that makes no sense. Why would people live in a fantasy world this long without any changes, no development? But that's the case, right? Heck, even uh, the oh so popular Game of Thrones uses that same trope, and we don't question it because we just, fantasy is fantasy, and forever amen, right? We don't think about it like, oh well, they should advance from pre, you know, BC Roman era to medieval to, you know, Renaissance. Like we never really think about it that way. Because it's pretty damn complicated to do that. Because of the fits and starts and things. I mean, hell, it took a couple hundred years for firearms to be spread around in our own world, and the fits and starts that caused with the age of exploration and piracy and all that kind of business. But I suppose if you wanted to take that challenge, I think that'd be awesome. Although you would have to have mentioning 70 years after Last Airbender, how many PCs would still be alive or even around or operating in a world that keeps changing around them? You know what I mean? Um, the voice actor, Legally Blind says the voice actor for, I'm presuming you meant Anthro. I'm thinking you're thinking, did you mean Panthro? I'm thinking you're thinking Panthro. Was the actor who played Bill Cosby's father in The Cosby Show. I did not know. Did not know. Yeah. Techno Demon's pulling yet another one. Brave Star, Wild West sci-fi fantasy. Yep. Yep. So in our world, I'm thinking there's something like a machine or a method, maybe a machine that can change people's lives. And for the low cost of whatever we're using, gold or favors or something, that your wishes can become true. And all we need are like investors to spread it around. And I'm thinking we could have this, like whether it's a machine or some kind of energy or something like that, and the whatever we take for the law or people with common sense are like, maybe we shouldn't spread this around to everyone because it's pretty dangerous, but like maybe there's a lens that focuses the stellar alignment or something like that down to the earth, and those who stand in the glare of the lens have their wishes fulfilled. And maybe there's only like one device, but someone plans on like constructing like many of these devices, like essentially like sell it to the highest bidder or building them in a factory. Or there are rebel elements out there who want to steal the plans to create these lenses, and they're using those lenses for themselves, or they want to spread it to the regular population. Maybe somebody very powerful is like, why are we keeping this for ourselves? Maybe, maybe for the low cost of a few shillings, you too could have your wishes fulfilled or something. Look at me, I got my wish fulfilled. And maybe those wishes are something that's like super fantastical and strange and, what typical. Maybe it starts out with typical desires like some money, or to become beautiful, or to cure someone or heal someone, and then things maybe start taking a dark turn from there. Yeah, Deadman says the correction: the voice actor for Bluegrass, the pilot of Silverhawks, was the voice actor of Lion-O in Thundercats. Ah, okay, all right, no problem, no problem. Um, so I could see a world where maybe there are, yeah, maybe there are these locations where um, these lenses are spread around the population. Like maybe some of them are under guard, like armed guards, and used by nobles. Maybe there are commoners that have it in their they have it in their town square or something like that. And if they beseech the elders, they're able to use it. Maybe there's like rebel factions that have them down in the deep sewers or in the dark woods, or covered by in tarps, on wagons or something under guard and whatnot, and they're using that to achieve their own goals or something. I could imagine like it, and the player characters might be caught in the middle of something like this, where if this didn't exist, life would just go on normally. But now we have like wish fulfillment, which is causing people to act in ways that is disrupting society. Like, for example, people should be hey Cameron, people should be growing crops and pulling, pulling weeds, or they should be cropping whatever it takes to harvest fields and stuff. But the young people that should be doing that are trying to flock to the cities to stand in line to be one of the chosen few that becomes part of the wish machine or something. Or maybe there are people in power that are eliciting, they are not engaging in diplomatic activities to remain to have allies on either side of their border nations, because they're like, whatever, I can just wish my way out of this. Why bother talking over a table? Or there's a rebel faction. It's like, normally we wouldn't be this bold and dangerous and putting people's lives in danger while we try to overthrow the government. But since we've got this wish machine, this wish lens or something, maybe we should get involved in doing such a thing. And so what if innocent bystanders get hurt? We'll just wish that they were never hurt in the first place, like, or whatever the case may be, right? I could see it disrupting things. Hey there, Ogre. Hey, I I am not going to butcher your last name there, dude. Just because it will embarrass me and somehow affect you. So I don't want that to happen. Blind Lurker says says your wish uh, came true, and it only cost you a decade of indentured service. I like that. Then you get the workforce you need to industrialize the process that you started with. Ooh, ooh, that's a backwards way of paying for having people pay for something, and I love it. Like, what a great how, like, for example, it that is very much like the what's the term? Oh, I can't think of the term, but it's like, hey, you want your wish to come true? Yes, great. Now you just need to give me like a decade of constant service until your wish comes true. And they're like, yay, we get to do this thing. And the person's like rubbing their hands together, like, ha ha, see, I fooled them. Now I've got Yep. Tesla's like a decade equals 7 years plus interest. Exactly. Exactly. And now, mind you, um, you could fool people for a short time, but eventually you're going to have to make do on your promises. But by that time, if you've got enough of the population who are serving you willingly for their 7+ years of servitude, you might already have a foothold in society anyway. So it doesn't matter what they wish for, right? And so, yeah. Now, I'm sure, like, would this be a real wish, like an actual genie, ninth level magic spell wizard type of wish? I don't know if you want to go that far, because you'd have a pretty screwed up setting, changing semi-daily as each person gets their own wish. But that would be rather cool, though, to have the friggin' landscape even start to change and shift around when the PCs are like, "Oh my God, are they still wishing over in that country? They sure are." And you're like, you're walking around bumping into other people's wish fulfillment of strangeness and oddities and things like that. Yeah, Cameron says, yeah, my friend's dad had different problems. His son quit the farm to chase critters. He has his own business now. You know what? And that could be a thing, right? Where um, this process might be the disruptor in society. Even, okay, great disruptors, like I was bringing up the current war, where it was the fight over who will bring electricity to New York and the rest of the United States, basically. It sometimes the great disruptor itself doesn't even need to be there, but the fact that it exists disrupts life everywhere because people know that it's a truism. It would be a great disruptor for our current age would be finding out that we receive a message and the entire population is contacted by, say, aliens. right? That would be the great disruptor. They're not here. They just send a worldwide message, and everybody in the entire world sees the same or hears the same or interacts with the same message from an alien species. And it's like, hey, we're going to come and see you in exactly 101 years of your time standard. And most of us would be like, well, I won't even be alive then, but okay. And then the other people who are still young are like, what am I going to do? And blah, blah, blah. So I love great disruptor settings. Um, there are a number of great disruptor settings, not as popular, but great disruptor settings are. I'm coining that phrase for something, but yeah, the disruptor settings are like here's society, and we're bored, and we're going to move in a straight line, and all of a sudden it forks because everyone realizes that something fundamental has changed their life, and Techno Demon. Yeah, we brought up Rifts. Yeah, in Rifts there are techno wizards who combine technology and magic. Absolutely, and I could even see player characters either having been come from the results of maybe one of these like wish lenses or something. They stepped in front of the wish lens or stepped underneath the wish lens and gained some kind of capabilities, or they are specifically skilled in taking down the the unwanted side effects of having whatever techno fantastical capabilities are out there, and they're the ones who take the things down, right? Like imagine if it would be the classic portal to another world where, oh, we're just going to walk through the portal and get stuff from another world and bring it back, but the player characters are the hunter, like the hunter killers that like hunt down the alien spores you brought back with you, or the the psychic creature that inhabited your mind and is formless and bodiless, but it's a psychic entity, and they have to hunt it down. Like I could imagine player characters playing on that level as well, much like yeah, Dead Man brings up Cthulhu tech. Yep, Call of Cthulhu meets Battle tech. Yeah, yeah. Everyone loves operating a mech to fight the kaiju wherever those kaiju may come from, whether they're like Lovecraftian or they're dragons or they come from the deep ocean or a portal from the outer realms or something like that, right? Those are elements where, hey, it's just monsters. Matter of fact, there's even a silly, I guess you could even include a silly kids animated movie where there's a crew of government agents, and the crew that operate as government agents are based on classic monsters like the creature from the Black Lagoon, the 50-foot woman, the Blob. I don't remember the name of it, but even that, while rather silly, is a thing, right? Like where the player characters both represent the heroes and the people the rest of the population fears and envies and hates as well. That's also a great setting primer where, sure, your characters have certain capabilities, but you're also, I don't know, based around vampires or, ghosts and werewolves or something, the mod squad, right? Like sure, you're a monster squad but you're also heroes kind of thing. And yeah, I think a setting like this where science and technology kind of mix together, which brings up, let me get back into the chat and I'll try to formulate what I'm thinking of. But Blind Lurker says aliens coming in 100 years. Simple question: how would that affect people from having kids? Certain people would not want to have their kids in danger, so it might actually change the growth of the human population. Yeah. Oh, not dude. Dude, not that I know that you're a dude or whatnot, but doesn't matter, dude. That's absolutely correct. Not only that, but some people would say to themselves, aliens coming in 100 years, why am I working towards my current goal, right? Hey, I'm going to quit my job and become some kind of monk or messiah, right? Like, why bother? Some people would make up the question, why bother with a thing if aliens are coming here? And if they don't know why the aliens are coming here, you're going to have different um views, right? Are you going to be a prepper because you think the aliens are coming here to kill us? Yep. Or yeah, Wolfman has nards. Crazy. But yeah. um I mean, do you think the aliens are going to come here to kill us or enslave us or eat us, or do you think the aliens are here to bring us into a larger intergalactic society and have us travel the stars or whatnot? In 100 years, to cultivate your family and your friends and get them together to be all on the same page, or find or join or create your own cult dedicated to one one complete thing. Yep. Completely a dude. Wolfman has nards. um I'm not catching that techno demon. Tesla says Monsters versus Aliens. Duh, that was the name of it, right? Monsters versus Aliens under TV Tropes is a 2009 all CGI cartoon movie made by DreamWorks. Story features an alien villain, the four-eyed um, Galaxar, attacking the United States with a giant robot. Yep. After conventional weaponry proves ineffective, a high ranking general, W.R. Monger, yeah, warmonger, get it, suggests using the monsters that the government has been capturing for 50 years and keeping in Area 52 against them. Yep, that's all. That's literally a combination, the animated movie, that's a combination of all the tropes of those classic B movie monsters plus conspiracy theories. Yeah. The aliens from Mars are attacking with giant robots, and we've got the Blob and the creature from the Black Lagoon, and all. Yep. In Area 52, everything's held in Area 52, right? Um, Now, one kind of science fantasy I brought up before about urban fantasy is this idea that, and we've seen this done in a lot of intellectual properties, including one of the most popular tabletop RPG companies, which is White Wolf, and that's the idea of, um, and again, like Shadowrun, bringing back magic that we all thought was actually fictional, but was really around at some point, right? So the idea that vampires walk around today, is a trope in the sense that we thought vampires were fictional and they were just in novels and mythology, but they're real. Another concept is for this kind of thing is to use pseudoscience to explain something that was magic, or use magic to explain some kind of pseudoscience. So an example would be, um, the stories of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Well, they weren't just stories, they were real because we found a formula. We're unsure what the formula is, but we've been able to duplicate it some kind of way, even though we don't understand what it is, to recapture what it was that the original person who portrayed Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was, right? Or like Legally Blind brought up, like uh, the Wolf Man today. Well, it was really a blood disease, or vampirism really is a disease known as, or genetic modification known as like a hemophage or something. Star Fox Fantasy brings up dragon eating aliens. Yeah, combining all the tropes, right? Like, we're going to have dragons and aliens and robots, and then you're like, well, just play riffs. But you get the point, right? Where not only are we just combining science and fantasy, but where there isn't a direct division between the two. Like, I could imagine a mecha game where the mecha use magic to transport themselves to other planes of existence to fight other kaiju-sized monstrosities that are from other worlds, or heck, even the pilots themselves may have psychic or magical abilities, and whenever they have to exit their mechas, or maybe even focus their special abilities through the mechas. And as a matter of fact, most of our favorite, let's be honest, most of our favorite mechanized uh, intellectual properties have some sort of magical uh, pseudo magic attached to them. And I don't mean that, oh, well, mechas don't really exist. I don't mean that, but I'm talking like, and I'll form the head, or I'm going to draw out the sword like Voltron, right? Like, really, is that really science? I mean, really, no, but we think it's pretty cool, right? Um, so yeah, yeah, Doctor Who, stereotypical monsters turn out to be aliens. Usually, yeah, that is also a, it's the it's the Scooby Doo thing. Like, ooh, a wolf? It's like, we caught Mister Finkelface, and he'd take off his mask, and he's like, "Yeah, I'd have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids." It's the we thought there was something magical, but really it was caused by science. Even though you're like, well, you start scratching your head, like, wait a minute, wait, okay, you're saying this was like scientific or aliens or whatever or technological, but that doesn't explain how you were able to, oh, I don't know, pass through walls and suddenly appear someplace, right? But that's always been the classic trope, right? Where it was just Mr. Finkelhart. Yeah, if it wasn't for you meddling kids. But anyway, um, that's I'm, sorry, I just went down a Scooby Doo rabbit hole in my imagination. Um, Legally Blind says advanced tech, advanced technology, but only the energy powerful enough to run them is a magical beast. So magic infused technology. Yes, 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 yes. Like we brought up, like kyber crystals are basically a magical energy, right? It's oh, they help power lightsabers, and we're like, yeah, but why? Right? It's there could be a magical beast, like you said, that needs to power a particular kind of engine to get a thing that happens, which brings about its own problems, right? Is the magical creature an innocent creature that should be freed? Is the technology that we're using, Minority Report, hey, we're going to stop crime using a predictive technology that is able to predict the future to prevent crime from happening, and we're going to stop it before it happens, and there's a countdown. Great, okay. But it's powered by three psychics? What? Right? So, yes, yeah, Tesla says in the first Scooby Doo series, everything had a mundane explanation. Later series added the supernatural. Yes, which always rubbed me the wrong way. That's my old grognard Scooby Dooism. Like, they added real magic, stupid. You know, or or sometimes the magic that we fear isn't the real villain. The real villain are the people who are abusing it, right? The evil spirits. Oh no, there's evil spirits coming after us, and then you find out, well, the evil spirits really weren't evil. They were just trying to get some help because someone has been using, focusing, seancing the evil spirits to have them do their own bidding, and the evil spirits are like pissed off about it. And then the heroes are like, oh, we didn't realize that. Yep. Techno demons like vampires in power armor. Yeah, maybe we went down a rabbit hole in that one. Yeah, vampires in power armor fighting dragons that are cybernetic from other dimensions. Uh, Whatever. Yeah, that'd be kind of weird. Um, Dalexar Supreme one says one classic science fantasy trope is that the technology comes from an ancient, advanced but collapsed civilization. Yeah, and we're definitely, dude. That's definitely going to be a thing we're going to talk about on Future Friday. But yeah, the alien race that left behind artifacts or devices or um, relics from a bygone age. Heck, even our own sunken city of Atlantis has always held for us its own, like, where is it? What is it? Is it real? If it's real, where were they? Why were they advanced? Maybe they're a lost civilization and they have a thing that operates in a way that's able to do a thing, right? And sure, we don't exactly know how it operates, but we know that if we poke it a certain way, a certain outcome comes out of it. Stargate SG-1 is a perfect example of the magic that's able to be used for technology, which I was trying to stay away from the things that already exist, but you can see already that there's so many other properties out there that use the concept of mixing science and technology that it's pretty difficult to come up with your own, right? Um, yeah. Dead Man says, in general, Scooby Doo pre '90s was all explained as mundane with some kind of trick to make it look supernatural. Yeah, meddling kids. Yeah, but post mid '90s Scooby Doo usually had a supernatural element to it, which I'm gonna pout. But yeah, if that's how you got into Scooby Doo, more power to you. But I still like the snatching the mask off the head of old Mr. Winkle father, who's gets mad at the meddling kids. But yeah, yeah. The Legally Blind says, yeah, you move the gravestones, but you never move the graves, do you? Yeah, yeah. Those are kind of things. And as a matter of fact, even um, another concept in urban fantasy are the mundane investigators investigating the supernatural, right? There's a laundry list of those elements as well, where the there's something unexplained. The protagonists go out there. Yeah. Zigma says investigation is fun. I love investigative tropes, Call of Cthulhu and that kind of thing. Like I love that kind of stuff. But I, personally, I think it's actually cool to have like to give the PCs like a little bit of an edge. Like, oh, we're investigators, but I also have some kind of like psychic awareness, and hey, I'm an investigator too. But you know, once a day, I can like I don't know wolf out or turn into an ogre or something like that. Like maybe they have just a little bit of an edge in the fight against evil or whatever it may be, and it might be collecting the artifacts that were released so long ago, or it might be this idea of like the demon got out the bottle and we've got to put the demon back in the bottle. What like the Area 52 Warehouse 13 kind of idea where the player characters are out there investigating something. Delta Green is a perfect example of that style of gaming where yeah, we know magic exists. We're just regular people, folks trying to deal with it. Um, yeah, Zigma says Mage the Awakening does that very well. You have a mechanic that allows you to scrutinize mysteries through their arcanum. Exactly. And then bringing those things back, right? Like maybe there's an ancient legacy of sages that have studied the ancient magics, but you're like a hard boiled detective. You're like, look, listen, guys, I know you're bookworms, but I'm going to need my automatic rifle and a couple of grenades and some body armor, and like combining those two together, and like, yeah, I'm out to kick demon ass and chew gum, and I'm all out of bubble gum, right? I'm all out. I'm out to chew demons and kick gum, and I'm all out of kicked gum, right? Yeah. So that's also a very popular type of like gaming method, although a lot of times it devolves into PCs are like, why can't I be a demon? I want demon powers. This is stupid. I'm just a regular person. You got to watch out for those kind of players, right? But like White Wolf, like you brought up Zygmus, where like Mage the Awakening, Mage. I'm old school, right? I remember Mage the Ascension and Vampire the Masquerade and Werewolf the Apocalypse. Yeah, though that's where like the PCs are badasses except for everybody else, right? Yeah, Cameron says Warehouse 13 would make such a fun campaign. They even had special powers. Oh, hell yeah. And maybe, just maybe even able to use like a few of the minor artifacts that don't cause permanent harm kind of thing. But yeah, and a perfect way to have like a monster of the week style of game. Like, oh man, I don't have a good idea for an adventure. Oh, here's the easy thing. Go find the thing to return the thing back to the place so the thing can't cause harm. We're done, right? Like that's an easy default mechanism for a setting like that. Your investigators, go get the thing. And of course the thing could be you could place the thing anywhere. You guys know I'm the self-appointed third pillar in the RPG. So I'm like, oh, it's down in the deep ocean. It's stuck on top of a mountain. It's, you know, in the locked behind a vault from a powerful corporate entity. It's in a government facility. It's, all et cetera, right? It's an abandoned house because some homeless guy's been using it for the last 7 years and no one knew it. Uh, yeah. Legally Blind Lurker says NBC's TV show Timeless. Yep. One guy was an engineer who worked the time machine. One member of the team was a historian, and the third was a military bodyguard. And hey, listen, the whole idea of Timeless was in itself a science fantasy as well, right? The fantasy of going through time, changing time, right? And then the trope of not disrupting the timeline, but you have an enemy out there who's traveling through time, and you're time cops basically. That fits perfectly into it, and especially if the PCs have some kind of ability to like affect time in small ways. Like, oh, someone threw a grenade. I'm going to use my stasis ability and keep the grenade from exploding. And it's like this. I don't know, 2-foot fireball that burns your hands a little bit as you're taking the half exploded, now frozen grenade and throwing it into the ocean or something like that. That'd be really sweet. Techno Demon's like, let's see. Vampires of power armor, evil cat goddesses, undead with sci-fi guns. uh, all right. What is this? Is this the tabletop RPG version of like those old fill in the blank books where it's just like pick a noun, pick a verb, pick an adjective, and you're done. Yeah. What is it? The Numenera is I'm an adjective verb that noun. No, I'm an adjective noun that verbs. Is the character creation process. So I'm a brilliant scientist that uncovers mysteries, right? Is the adjective noun that verbs, and you gain certain capabilities based on the adjective, the noun, and the verb that you pick for your character, right? That's which is that's a pretty slick, simple way of like character creation because it really describes who you are without much fanfare, and then you get to look in the books and see exactly what it is that you have. But yeah. Oh yeah, ad libs with skill checks. That's it. Thank you there. 1003. Okay, I'm gonna call you. I need a good. I need a good acronym. Um. I'm gonna call you. Uh. I'm gonna call you numbers. All right, numbers three. All right, numbers three. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, ad libs with skill checks. Yep. Yep. Fifth edition Dungeons and Dragons is kind of like that. You're a background race that classes. Yeah, I'm an outlander. I'm an outlander fighter that seeks to, I don't know, whatever, seeks to slay dragons or something like that. Although it would be more like I'm an outlander elf that fights, or I'm a hermit dwarf that that is very faithful, or believes in the gods or something like that. It kind of fits in that genre slightly. If you scrape off the edges, the rough edges, but yeah, but I I think sometimes we brilliant types, we RPG community, we love to separate our science and fantasy, like we said before. Some people have a hard line. All the stuff we're talking about, they're like, yeah, I'm down with that. Just don't add handles to my wands in my game, right? Don't no firearms, no firearms in my games. But science fantasy is far more common than we think it is, right? Because the science of it is the predictability of whatever genre we're in, and the fantasy of it is a weird fantastical thing happens, and we're not going to look too deeply into it. The fantasy thing happens, and that's okay, right? A fantasy realm where there's floating islands and castles built on them. We're not going to really explain why there's floating islands. We just think floating islands are really cool as hell, right? And we're just going to use airships to get from place to place. And yeah, that's it. Sure, you might have some pseudo explanation for why there are airships, but it's powered by a mystical element. Great. Okay. Shh. Stop explaining. Shh. Um, it's an airship. Stop. That's it. Let's just get on board and fight things. But yeah, the idea of like a Warehouse 13, player characters are investigators. If you don't want player characters running around doing like a run and gun kind of thing where they're just like murder hoboing your setting, if you wanted to do more investigative, adding in some like social elements and exploration, I think that kind of trope is really cool, especially if the player characters are like are benefiting from the very thing that is horrible out there in the rest of the world, because then you can really pull on this idea of like the player characters have to be far more diplomatic wherever they go, and maybe the population doesn't want to deal with them. They're the X-Men of the world, where they're like, you're dirty muties or something like that, right? You're no one wants to. If humanity knew that vampires existed, they would not want to communicate with them. But maybe if you're a vampire going out there slaying other evil nasties out there in the rest of the world, like a Buffy the Vampire Scooby gang, then maybe you can operate that way. And I think that's a pretty cool middle ground, especially if the player characters are privy to some of the drawbacks of a thing, but they know they're benefiting from it. And even if the player characters are in a state where overuse of their gifts makes them fall into the darker realms of your setting, right? So going back to the wish lenses or something, the player characters all, maybe each player character has like a dark theme to them for why they bothered to go to pay the price of standing beneath the wish lens. So you automatically start out with the I see you, Techno Demon. They automatically start out with the a dark secret or something that every player character has to have, but now they maybe they regret it or something. Like maybe a player character is like, I wanted to become very beautiful or attractive, and I stood below it. So now you're a 6.5-foot beautiful goddess or muscular, bronze-chested individual, those and everything, and you're physically tough and very attractive and whatnot. But maybe you've lost something, right? Maybe you've lost your creativity, or you no longer have any feelings anymore, and you miss the fact you don't have any feelings. So maybe there's some like dark element to it that you regret making this wish, but you need to stop other people who are making who are also making these wishes because they'll do something. Yeah, Techno Demon brings a werewolf knights versus robot demons, space drowls. Yeah, ad libs. Hey, let's roll randomly. Psychic oozes fighting. I don't know, giant monstrosities with cybernetics and yeah. Let's pull out our Rifts books. Let's pull out the Rifts books. But anyway, guys, we are coming to the end. I want to thank a ton. Dead man always ahead of me. Yes, please. Legally Blind Lurkers, like, yeah, first episode of Warehouse 13, the first artifact, Jimi Hendrix guitar. Hell yeah. I love it. But yeah, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. And there's a bunch of new faces, new names out there. We got Numbers Threes joining us, Zigmas, even Dalexar Supreme is out there, Star Fox Fantasy, and you guys, please, thank you very much for joining in the show. Just as a reminder, this show goes live 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, my time, each day, Monday through Friday. So pop on in, have something to say, join in the conversation. We do have our Discord server. If you join the Discord server, you can come in, have a talk with other people who are far more brilliant than I am. Heck, oh yeah, yo. Yeah, heck, you could get some games together and whatnot. Even on a Discord server, they even have video chatting now. So just pop on over there if you want to take part. Just to give you a little bit of my background before I get out of here, I am a contributing writer to Critical Hit Publishing. And so I specifically write books for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. The people that I write books with also produce books for Call of Cthulhu. So in a weird kind of way, we're parallel writing now. And so, yeah, they're available in DriveThruRPG. You can join our Facebook group over there for Critical Hit Publishing as well. I take part over there and post the links for the show over in that Facebook group and Absolute Tabletop. So anyway, guys, a whole bunch of other stuff, but enough about me. Let's talk about me. No. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining me. Have a great day. I've got to head off to work. See you later and see you tomorrow. Third Pillar Thursday. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.